So today we are having an interesting discussion where we try to kind of explore colonial histories and colonial injustices and question some colonial events. And we are joined in studio today by Philipp Muller. Philipp Muller, it's good to have you.
Thank you.
Philipp Muller is a researcher from Germany. He's here doing his PhD research, and we are here to discuss on the topic of restitution. So, as we are aware, the missionaries, when they came to Africa, particularly, some of them took cultural items or cultural material back to Europe, and this material is now lying in some European museums. And the same thing happened with the colonizing forces when they came here. A lot of cultural material have been taken, and it is reported that there are currently 12,000 estimated Namibian items right now sitting in different European museums. So what we are effectively here to discuss is, should these items be returned, and what is the why is it necessary for them to be returned? And Philip is here to have that discussion with us. Philip, can you please just give us a brief introduction about yourself, your background, the studies that you're doing, and why you decided to do those studies?
Okay, yeah. So I'm doing my PhD in anthropology, like in cultural anthropology, and at the University of Frankfurt. And I'm researching into because right now you have a lot of talk about the restitution and about the restitution also in Germany. It's an important topic, but what I want to go more into is the pictures and the images the so-called collectors, you can also say like colonial actors who appropriated the objects, and what images they had of the people they often looted the objects from. Because I think it is it would be important to go deeper into the ideological framework of the appropriation of these cultural belongings, and so yeah, this is what I do right now, and yeah, I'm happy to have the discussion.
Amazing, thank you. So let's just start off with the first question, Philip, is that when these people are taking these cultural objects from particular communities, for example, in Namibia, they've taken from the Herero communities, the Nama communities, the Mara communities. What is going on in their minds? Why are they interested in taking these particular objects and taking them to Europe and subsequently selling them to European curators in museums?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a bit a longer answer, but you had before colonialism, also before German colonialism, you already had collections which were more cabinets of curiosities.
Yeah.
In the cabinets and art cabinets of the kings in Germany.
Wow.
And with early trade companies, with missionaries, with early travelers, more solo travelers, they brought objects, but they brought all kinds of objects, like natural objects, like minerals, and also animal parts, because at this time it was more interesting for them to figure out the Darwinism and evolutionism, to figure out the history of mankind in that way. And it was only at the end of the 19th century when there was a whole movement of trying to appropriate as many objects, and not only talking about material culture and cultural belongings. I'm talking about everything, zoological objects, stones, everything. And it was that had several reasons. I mean, one reason was that it was just the scientific paradigm at the time, to figure out from a natural scientist's view, to figure out how things work. But the other thing is the other things are the cultural belongings, the cultural material. And this actually didn't started only in the colonies. It started also in the metropoles. And the reason for that was because when, like, at the end of 19th century, like, most European countries switched from feudal states and like from feudalism to capitalism.
Yeah.
And it was also the time when there was the emergence of the nation state as an idea of like how also the nation also as an concept of how these new capitalist states are to be seen.
Yeah.
And so there was like parallel to the developments in the colonies, there was the development of creating pictures of oneself, like creating the Germans, like inventing the Germans in a kind of a way, like the process of nation building.
So you mean more to say sort of like trying to formulate a culture, to construct a culture?
Yeah, I mean, it built on already existing like language traditions and everything, but at the end of 19th century, also Germany has, like, the German Empire was at the first time formed like as a unit, and there was this idea that like this collective now is actually way older. It is like something it has like a spirit itself and everything, and it's like at the same time when capitalism came up and all the proletarization happened, there was like this idea. No, we now have to gather together what makes German culture as such, and there was like a museum. There was like a museum movement which wanted to collect like German culture.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and at the same thing happened in the colonies, but it happened with another idea and another scale, and it was another process, because it was more violent. Even though you also have like grave robberies within Europe, you also have that. But with the like when the like associations in Germany, like colonial associations, and like, because museums, they started from different sources, and all these like scientists and museum directors and colonial actors, they had now more possibilities due to colonialism to get objects from the colonies. And sometimes they went themselves on expeditions, but the main source for these museums were actually networks where they contacted colonial actors to bring them objects. And this has been like the way where most of the objects came into the museums.
Yes.
And this kind of appropriation was has usually been a violent process, because it has been integrated in the process of conquering itself. And parallel to the process of conquering, these objects were put, or like these material objects were put in the museums and shown as, and this is an important part, because it was not like at the beginning they were only like data, but and museums also have just started, like often started as like research laboratories. But then at one point they also opened up and let people from all, like from the whole society, come in, and they showed these objects as elements of ethnic identity of the colonized, which in turn like transported the idea of the colonized as being natural peoples that are close to nature, while like the Germans and like the Europeans in general were cultural peoples. And so the idea also of colonialism was legitimized by the idea of bringing culture to the colonies,
Yeah.
and this and these objects were used as symbols for this ideology
Yes.
to legitimize
So,
colonialism.
so, Philip, as you are aware, these objects were taken in all over Africa. I think Nigeria and Ghana is some of the worst-case scenarios where like thousands of objects are taken. Namibia also a lot of objects are taken, although the question of restitution is not really prominent in Namibia. It's only prominent amongst a small group, probably those in arts and curating and stuff. But obviously, we know that with the taking of these objects, we have a loss of heritage. Because I've seen the 23 objects that were returned to Namibia, I think in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. One of the curators of the National Museum, she was looking at, I think it was a doll, and she has no memory of it, some cultural memory. So it also signifies like a loss of, cultural memory in some, in some way. So what do you think is the, maybe in a detailed answer, what do you think is the impact in terms of cultural preservation and cultural heritage of when these objects were taken from African communities?
This is a difficult question because I think that really depends. That really depends on the groups, and also like because it's like when the objects were taken, you have to see also that, for example, there has been a restitution of two of a whip and a Bible from Witbooi, Henrik Witbooi, and has been restituted from the Museum in Stuttgart, and it's it is in this case it's like not only something like a cultural heritage, it's also like a family heritage. It's also something like that really like that has personal worth for people. So there are different layers to this answers, I guess. And I mean, also like when you go to the museum, you will find the like what I read, that it's you also have like this national idea of national heritage, which
Yes.
which suffered from it, and but you have like the difficulty also is that when you now take different groups, you have also different actors, and the situation changed also, and it is also not necessarily that everybody also has the same connection to these things, but yeah, so there are different layers to it.
Yes. Absolutely. And one of the topic of restitution is now hot. We have governments getting involved also, but we also have some arts associations and arts group and other cultural groups putting pressure on European museums. But European museums have the argument that African museums are not capacitated and don't have the necessary infrastructure to get these objects back and to take care of them and to preserve them. Do you think that's a reasonable answer to give to communities that want their items back?
Of course not. I think earlier on, and maybe also in a lot of countries, there is still this this justification for not giving things back. But like I would say that it even if it was the case, it wouldn't matter, because if it's not yours, then you should just give it back. It doesn't matter what happens. So you can even put it in your kitchen. Like I think it's the it's the people you, or like the people you stole it from, who have to decide what to do with it. But I think like there's some cases which you can say though. The objects will probably not survive a transfer. This is for some objects. This is true, but in general, yeah. I mean, they should decide what to do with it.
Oh.
And I think in Germany also, like, the museum topic is so hot. Most of the museums are like open, and also have been like for the last years to give back the cultural material and the cultural belongings. But and I think we will talk about it as well. Museums are not the owners of the objects. You have
Yes.
to
True.
be aware of
Yeah, so the question of ownership also comes in. I think it also came up when the 22 items were brought back to Namibia. The question of ownership is like, who really owns these objects and who should claim them and who should have them, right? But there's also the term that they are using to say that the museums in Europe, they're saying they are going to loan these objects to Namibian museums. Is that to loan the items? Is that why use such a term? Could you loan someone something that is not yours, for example?
I think this is also something that is like that is the outcome of a lot of like talks and difficulties and strategical talks within the restitution debates, which I'm not so familiar at, so I cannot like answer this question perfectly. But you also have to think about like how many objects are in its museums, how many objects which are like also duplicates. I mean, you also have to think about like what do you do with like hundreds of like bow and arrows or like books. And I mean, you can also like museums here are not necessarily wanting all the stuff just back, because sometimes they also say like, I mean, it really depends on the people, they're not always saying, yeah, we want everything back and we have to store it here. They are like in the process of negotiating it. You have a lot of different solutions. Some even say, no, we just let it in the European museums, but we want some like charge for it or something like that. There are a lot of different solutions and negotiations, and it really depends on the outcome of the debates with
Yes. And what do you think should be the way moving forward in terms of how governments negotiate? For example, an African government negotiating with the European government. What should the steps? What are the strategic steps they should take to have like a peaceful negotiation process or discussion, and to have the items returned?
Yeah, it's a difficult question because I'm not a government. I think what I would rather ask in this aspect is what is actually, how come that governments talk about objects from like just some groups, like sometimes tribal groups, sometimes other groups. How come they debate about it, and how come these debates come up now? I think this is more the question I would like to talk about, because if we talk about, I think it will also be clear that it's more of a thing of diplomacy, of cultural diplomacy. And I mean, if you want to go into that, I can like say something about that.
Yes, please.
Okay, because right now you have like restitution bonds for a long time.
Yeah.
You had it for a long time. And right now, European states decided to give things back, but it is not a coincidence. It is not that just people are now aware that we are now better, and there was a cruel time. I mean, it's also like that, but now that colonialism, at least in its earlier form, is over, it is easier like to talk about that topic. And
I just want to ask, perhaps. Okay, let me hold that one. Because of time. But do you have any recommendations? Any words for Namibian academics who are maybe in the field of ethnography, anthropology, Do you have any advice for them in terms of maybe contributing to the whole process of restitution and widening or broadening the discussion around restitution?
Well, like right now, I came as a learner here, so I was actually all the way around to give recommendations. Right now, it's difficult. But I mean, like as I said, it's important to maybe be cautious with like take a close look at the political economy and the political structures and power structures, not only outside of not only inside of the respective countries, but in a holistic sense in the global political economy. And because I think, and this is a thing which is in Germany is the same, cultural debates are often debated without taking in the context of economy and politics. And to put these two spheres together, I think is important.
Yeah. So Philipp, you've been in Namibia for 1 month now. How would you rate your experience? What was your experience like in Namibia? And do you think you would come back to Namibia again, maybe for vacation this time and not for studies?
Sure. I met a lot of lovely people, and I got to have a lot of interesting discussions, and also like I think I got to know better the significance of these debates, and I think I got to know better maybe also understand a bit better the problems which are existing here, and so I can maybe embed my research better and to focus more on what's important to people here. And also, yeah, in the end, I mean, that's something you will experience everywhere where you go, but that you find like a lot of different actors with a lot of different views, and everybody not everybody has the same opinion on matters. You have power structures, you have people above, you have people, other people maybe that struggle more, that maybe care about other debates, and they don't care maybe about restitution. They care more about like material questions in their everyday life. This is something which I think should always be the starting point of science and political activism, to look at the material needs of people, and I think that has been a development which started in colonialism, but it continues to this day, and I think it's important to always look at the material needs of the people.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Philipp, thank you very much for joining the discussion and joining us here.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Philipp Muller, a PhD student from Germany pursuing his PhD studies here in Namibia. Now, this is Activated Talks, and I am Martin Nafuka. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share Activated Talks, and let's spread the conversation. Thank you.